Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJLIVE.
You would think with our upcoming guest that I'd be a little bit more responsible with the button pushing when it comes to the show. But you know what? I just want to kind of get into it. I want to get into the programming. I want to talk to my guests so much so that I had to kind of screw up things. But welcome everybody to VRC DJ Live. I'm Rob Roman, your host. We, of course, talk to everybody all amongst the different corners of the rave community here in VRChat, from DJs to club owners to world creators to dancers to VJs. We still got a ton of people within our community that we proactively want to talk to, and it's because of you guys in chat that allow us to bring on all these special guests and ask the important questions when it comes to not only DJing, the economy here in VRChat, but also outside as we continue to bridge the gap between hobbyist and professional here in our community. And our guest today, obviously, not only is such a humble guy. I'm going to overstate this way too many times with you today, but at the same time, too, you've done a lot here in the program, or just in our community in general. Vetted VRChat player, immersed in the disco culture of the rave scene, performing such venues such as Kaleidosky, Contract, Ferality, which just happened. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, too. And the owner of Studio 45 and Tanuki Tunes. Please welcome to VRC DJ Live, Juno Tanuki.
Hey, what's up? Hi. How's it going, chat? How's it going, everyone?
Real glad to have you here on the program. And again, too, like, I'm over here. I'm just like, I've been thinking about having you on this program for a while. And a lot of the people that I have been talking to, actually, one of the first events that I saw you at, I'm not going to kind of talk a little bit about your relaxing experience after that particular show. But let's say relaxing experience. Is the fact that I was talking with Electro, and I was just like, man, that Juno Tanuki is something else. You know, you going up there and you're performing and having a good time. And what is it like to just be able to be in here and perform and just be an overall really nice guy to talk to?
I don't know. It's just a lot of fun to be in here. It's just like, it's kind of a different experience being inside this different world, just talking to a bunch of people that are all differently shaped and interestingly shaped in some cases. And as far as like playing for people and stuff like that, it's a whole lot of fun. It's like, it's really different playing in VR than it is IRL, because it's not that it's more lively. It's just like, it's different in a good way. It's just like, because you feel like you're in a completely different place. You're completely immersed in somewhere else. It's really cool.
And it's also really fun to be able to see all the different types of people too. It's like one of the things about our community that is having such a hard time being able to bridge the gap with the professionalism of, you know, going to real clubs or talking with record labels or managers and stuff like that, is that they see it as a video game, that we're just in here having fun playing a video game, or like you're not real, or my staff isn't real, or I'm not real, and that the people that we DJ for aren't real. There is one program that we are going to be talking a little bit about virtually that has some sort of elements of NPC, kind of, but not necessarily there quite yet. I think you know what I'm talking about, but at the same time, we still need to know about that information as well. But coming in here and performing, it does seem like it's something else. The fact that you have all these people coming in and sharing with the community too, and wanting to be a part of it and sharing how they want to kind of party as well.
Yeah, it's a real interesting thing, just sharing this with everyone. It's just like, you know, just all walks of life coming in and like just partying, and just like it's really is an experience, just seeing everyone. Like, you don't know who's going to walk through the door when you throw on a show or like a pop-up, or if you plan something. It's just come one, come all. It's just fun.
You know, a little bit earlier, like a couple minutes ago, I was just explaining how humble you are when it comes to just almost anything in here, too. You're just an easygoing guy that likes to have a good time with some really great people. And having you in our community is a great beacon of hope and light, just just in general, because we talk about this type of thing a lot on the program, where there's a lot of room for limelight, there's a lot of room for popularity or influencer, or going down the content creator kind of rabbit hole when it comes to what your intentions are in here. Maybe you want to perform as a hobbyist, maybe you want to get large within a smaller community, just gaining that internet fame. And it seems like such a weird question to start with, but how do you remain so humble compared to some of the people that come in here thinking that they want all the limelight, and then they look at you and go, man, you're such a cool guy, like how do you keep your cool?
The best way I can really answer that, to be honest with you, is that I just don't really expect anything, to be honest. I just I come in here with the one plan of just having fun, of just like, just talking with people, just experiencing things with my friends and stuff like that, and making cool things, just making cool things happen or doing cool things. That's basically the impetus to everything that I do. I just want to do something cool. The rest of it just kind of comes naturally, I guess. Like, like I don't expect things to pop off. I never do. Like I said, I don't really expect anything. It just happens. And it's left me confused sometimes, because I'm like, I'm not doing anything special. Why is everybody looking at me? But that's basically that's all there really is to it. I just am.
Do you think it's kind of a product of a time back in like 2019? I know that's when you said that you were coming on here, into VRChat for the first time, which again, our conversations before the show, of course, everyone's hearing about this now, but even a product of 2019, even early 2020, it didn't seem like there weren't as many people in here as it is now, obviously. But that whole time in VRChat had a different vibe. It had a different meaning to come to kind of coexist in here, compared to even the rave scene alone. And this is something that I've been kind of talking to a lot of people that haven't been a part of our community for a couple of years, where I'm saying it's not a matter of us having the rave community, and everybody has to be a part of the rave community. It just seems like it's a popular thing right now, even comparable to like early on when you just sat in front of a mirror and you were still okay with that, and no one was giving you the business of sitting in front of the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a lot easier to, because it's just the accessibility thing too. It's just like it's a lot easier to go to a club and go drinking with friends when you don't really have to leave your house.
Right?
That's a very attractive thing for people when it comes to like, the wider part of the scene, when it comes to VRChat clubbing and stuff like that. But as far as the vibe here in like 2019, it's like you are correct in that feeling. It felt a little bit more tight knit and a little bit more chill. And this is coming from someone that didn't really started seriously playing VRChat till about maybe late 2019, early 2020, because I was in Wave XR before that, and that was even more tight-knit. On a busy night, we probably would only have about like 35 people, maybe 40 in the entire app. So like you started to get to know people really, really well, because, you started partying every night because you wanted to see what everyone was making.
Mm-hmm. And I know even earlier on, I keep saying earlier on as if like it's only been about 10 minutes into the program, but I did mention the fact that you are the creator of Tanuki Tunes, and I don't think a lot of people put two and two together. I think they go and see the map, and then they go explore, and they love the nostalgia part of it. They love the feeling of being in a record store, compared to there are no record stores anymore. I mean, I'm sure there are some places. But how does it kind of feel to? I mean, you've done a lot so far, even since the birth of Tanuki Tunes. How does that still resonate with you when people are just like, oh, that's how they know you from Tanuki Tunes?
Even till this day, it still feels really weird just to have people come up to me. It's like they put two and two together. It's like, oh, wait a minute, you made that one app. You made that one map that has the records and stuff. I'm like, yeah. And they usually, I think I had a friend of mine that I didn't put two and two together until about couple months until after meeting me, and they're like, holy shit, that was you. But oh my god, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Oh, right. Like Tanuki Tunes and all that. It's I I tend to keep a low profile. It's just I just kind of go off, do things with my friends. I don't really market myself a lot. I just kind of am here. I'm just a guy. And as far as Tanuki Tunes and how that came to be is that it's like I wanted this all came about because I used to send albums and tracks to all my friends through Discord. And then we'd have to put them into a video player, find them on YouTube, put it into a video player. And that got kind of tedious after a while. And I'm like, well, I used to work at a record shop when I was a lot younger. Um, why don't I bring that experience into VRChat, and then I can just put a lot of my music collection into VR as like YouTube links, and then I can just show my friends different music that way. And then me and my friends thought that was a good idea. And I at that point, if you had talked to me at that point, if you were to ask me to like make a cube in Blender, I would have looked at you really weird and like, huh? I don't know how to model. That was all a learning experience through the dark era that was COVID. I learned Blender, I learned Unity, we got Tanuki Tunes together. Basically, I semi recreated the record shop that I used to work at, but I expanded it width wise because it was just this tiny little itty bitty sort of like alleyway store that was just tiny, that like it was two record shelves it was two shelves filled with CDs, and the records were in the back. And then my boss Bob sold stereo equipment in the back. Like he had some really nice stereo equipment back there. It was new and used stuff that he would buy and sell. And it was an experience getting my music taste there, just like listening to music with friends back then with my IRL friends and stuff like that. And I wanted to bring that into VRChat, so I did. And I, again, not expecting anything, I just made that for honestly just for me and my friends, just because we thought it'd be a cool thing, and it popped off naturally. We didn't know that it was one of the first of its kind to do that whole immersion thing, where you just pick up the record, you put it on the record player, and then it just plays the video, and like it plays the actual music in the world, and you sit down and just listen to the music. Like, it was a novel concept, but I mean, since then, it's fallen a little bit into disrepair because I work a full-time job normally, and I haven't had a lot of time to work on it. But yeah, I apologize to everyone that visits that world, and there's a lot of broken links. I totally apologize. I'm trying to get back to it.
And even more so, like, just recently, I know for me, I've been experiencing a lot of different nostalgia types of world. I do apologize. I might have to. I don't think for the longest time we were trying to figure out a better word than nostalgia, because some of the people that we have talked to in the past, we kind of go back in time a little bit when it comes to VRChat and the VR. You know, being like, oh, I remember when our name tags were green and everything was broken, and most of the people nowadays, they're not too focused on stuff that happened in the past. They're more focused on what can I experience in the future. And that's why all of these conversations that we're going to be having during the show today are going to be mostly based off the fact that nostalgia, people are actively going there now. Like just recently, like even within like 4 months or 5 months ago, they were just like, no, we want to focus in on the future. And I think that was the whole thing about like Cyberpunk. It was like Cyberpunk came out and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like living in the 80s and thinking the future is going to happen in the 2000s. And then you have all the robots and stuff. But then all of a sudden they're like, is Cyberpunk going to be the future of the future kind of a thing? So having all of those experiences and a lot of maps in VRChat alone, I can't remember the names, but like there's a ton of them, even referring to like your mom's basement or like your childhood basement den, where you had the NES and you had all the cool posters and VHS tapes and stuff, and maybe a foosball machine or something. And people are feeding into that, and I think partially it has something to do with the fact that they don't get to experience it nowadays, especially with modern technologies, or maybe it's something that they've learned that they've wanted to be a part of anyway. So learning about Tanuki Tunes and the fact that, again, during COVID, like you were saying, you made this, was it more of just an idea of having people get a visual of what it was for you? in that, or were you kind of focused in on trying to make like a not really a sleep world, it's just a relaxation world with some beanbag chairs,
Yeah.
even to the point, and we'll get into it further, but like being able to sit down and listen to a full LP without breaking it up, without moving the needle or anything like that. I would assume that was kind of also the part of the reason why you made that world too, is that you could sit and listen to a record front to back.
It was part of the impetus for making the world, actually, just because and it was also born from the restrictions at the time of like the way video players worked, because you can't go to YouTube and pull a link for a playlist and then put it into the video player. The video player is just going to give you an error. It's like, I don't know what to do with this. So like early on when we were planning this, like when I was planning this place, it's like, okay, listening to music, you know, the art form of the album has sort of been lost. It's just sort of like ever since iTunes and then later streaming sort of took over, it was the single. It was everybody was always going for the singles and stuff like that. And crafting an album that had sort of a direction or something like that, like a flow to it. Like two good examples I can think of off the top of my head right now are Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, because that's definitely, you have to listen to that front to back, because every track flows into itself, like into another track, into another track. And the one that I got a lot of flack for when I put this album in was because Linkin Park. Everyone was haranguing me that why didn't I put Hybrid Theory in? And I told, and then Meteora is in there instead. And the way I can explain that is because Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park was still trying to find their sound. Every track sort of coincided with each other, but there'd be a track that didn't really fit, and they were just kind of throwing things in, and it was just like their big breaks. They were just kind of putting in tracks. And then in Meteora, they found their sound. And if you ever listen to Meteora from front and back by Linkin Park, it's like you're listening to a movie, because every track goes into the next track, and it's like there's things happening. Like you could imagine like going back to cyberpunk, like a cyberpunk samurai going after an experiment or something like that in your head, like as the entire album's going through. So like that was really appealing for Tanuki Tunes, is putting in full albums, because it was a restriction, because playlists didn't work until recently, where my friend made the video player actually do playlists, but I have to put them in manually now. And you can skip tracks, but that's besides the point. But if I was able to find a full album of an album on YouTube, like the full upload uninterrupted, it's like playing an LP. You just throw it in there. You can try to track seek, but it gets kind of kludgy. So you have to just, that's why it's set up the way it is with the couches and everything. Everyone's supposed to sit on the couch, sit back, and just listen to the tunes.
I know we're going to be talking again a lot about nostalgia, obviously, kind of the popularity of disco happening in VRChat recently. We're going to break that down momentarily, but I kind of want to do a hot take with you about that, and the fact that you can listen to records front to back, and again and again and again. And that concept alone is, I think for LPs, it was a matter of you listen to the 5 or 6 tunes, you flip it, 5 or 6 tunes, you continuously flip an LP, right? With a cassette, once you're done with it, you have to flip it, and then you listen to it. You know, that's what you do, is you're flipping it. With CDs, again, you go from top to bottom, and then you could circle back around. But the idea of flipping it, it kind of gets lost in time. And first of all, do you think because of that, most records that are made now don't have that luxury? So they, and as you said too, buying singles on iTunes or obviously Spotify too, people can listen to whatever they want on there. But do you think that we're also getting back to that time of being able to listen to albums round and round? I know a good example is The Weeknd. His last album, allegedly the last song, bleeds into the first song of his first album. So if you were to listen to it cylindrically, like it'll kind of go back to where you were first starting from, or do you think that we're going down a whole different direction when it comes to making albums in general?
No, there's some artists out there that are actually still 100% doing the concept, like the album concept. Like another good example is Kendrick Lamar's Damn. That one you can listen front to back or back to front, and it tells a different story if you listen to it front to back and then back to front. It's like was it like the first track is like, is it wickedness? Is it weakness? You decide. So like it's even telling you in the beginning of the track, is it wickedness or is it weakness? You decide. If you listen to the album backwards or forwards, it gives you a different message. You don't quote me on that, but I think that was what it mostly was. But no, it's there's some artists that are trying it. Like I'm probably going to misquote the name of the artist too. Another good example is JVKE, I think, or something like that. JVKE, like they got the tracks. This is what it feels like in autumn, or something like that, or this is what it feels like when you lose a lover, or something like that. Like it's a short EP, but it's like about 5 tracks long, but it tells a story of someone falling in love with another person, finding out that they're cheating on them, and then breaking up, and then figuring out how to live with your life. Like it's like, or them figuring out how they live with their life. It's like how those tracks sort of line up. So like it's not lost. It's slowly coming back because it's an art form. It's just, like the pop, putting in singles and stuff like that in Spotify, like it's still there, but it's people are slowly starting to go through like hell. CD and vinyl sales are up hella right now. So like it's definitely making a comeback.
It's interesting too, especially we keep bringing it up. I know for me, I haven't been able to see the Wicked movie. I've known the Broadway musical and I know the music and stuff. And for the longest time, Ariana Grande was like, I'm Glinda. That's it. I'm going to be the good witch. I'm going to take this role. And then she's worked her entire time to be able to get to that point. And even when that movie came out, it seemed that she was putting her heart and soul and her time and energy and everything into that movie, comparable to how much time and effort. I mean, she put in a lot of time and effort with her recent records too. But and I think somewhere along that time, around the 2010s, I think people were a little jaded to the idea of pop music and understanding that type of concept and being having an artist form style of it. I'd hate to even continue to bring up Lady Gaga, but Lady Gaga does put on one heck of a show, but there's a lot of other theatrical elements to it that aid in the music that she produces compared to what she does for performance on stage. But even more so, we're still waiting on part 2 of Wicked, and Ariana Grande has just been sitting on Wicked for like 3 years, like kind of doing that. And I would love for her to break down and just be like, I'm going to make this piece of art music, kind of like with Kendrick. And I know Bruno Mars did it too with 24 Karat Magic. That album is nuts.
That album slaps.
But like that, I feel like a lot of people still want that. They want the artistry of it. They want the theatrics of it. They want to be able to sit down and focus in on it. And we haven't been there in a very long time. Thus, kind of the conversations that we're going to have during the show today. And again, I'm itching to get there, but in order to get there, we have to get there. Like I can't just be like, so what are your thoughts on this? Like we're going to start the show with that. But of course, it's VRCDJLIVE. We're sitting here with Juno Tanuki. And for those people that don't know, it's a live show. And we have many people in chat, and they can say hi and make sure you ask all your questions, because at any point in time, Juno's busy. He's a busy guy doing things, making worlds, working hard. I know recently you were telling me about a story about how you were going to work, you picked up some speakers, and now you get another plaything to work on those types of speakers. But this is the time, man. If you have any questions about what we're talking about, or trying to get into the DJ scene, or hell, even talking about world creation, we'll sit down and kind of talk a little bit about it. But speaking about world creation, I want to pick your brain, because for me, and I feel like we both could relate, when it comes to like things that we've enjoyed in the past leading up to now, and be able to sit and go, okay, I would assume that like you have had many a nights listening to Abbey Road. Abbey Road's a very iconic record. Obviously Dark Side of the Moon, but like I feel like who hasn't, but at the same time, who hasn't, at the same time. And even more so, I got reintroduced to the idea of Fruitiger Arrow last year, towards the end of last year. And and now that Apple kind of also released their, what was it called? Liquid Glass? I think that's what it was called.
It's like Liquid Glass or something like that.
Yeah,
it's like.
And you can't tell me that they're trying to feed back into Fruitiger Arrow too. Like you can't be telling me this, but at the same time. So I want your opinion on that, is especially because of now, and the people that I have been talking to in VRChat recently, they're saying that they want They want this. They want to be able to throw it back. They want the throwbacks. They want especially in music with the disco scene too, they want that feeling. And now that some of these companies are kind of jumping on that bandwagon too. So I want your opinion based off of the need for nostalgia and the throwback stuff.
I think, let's see if I can get my thoughts in order for this, but like, I think the reason that people seem to be going back to like Frutiger Arrow and like all those other sort of like design elements, stuff like that, just sort of that nostalgic feel for stuff, is just that the pendulum has swung too far to boring and sterilized. So like if you've ever seen, like, I think there's a meme, it's like it's a meme that pops up on social sometimes. It's like, this is what they took from you. It's like a picture of McDonald's with like all the jungle theme and then like a play place and stuff like that, and then they go to today in 2025 and it's this gray box with the golden arches in the corner and it's just kind of boring looking. It's just that things back then, I think, is not so much a need for nostalgia. I think it's just things were more visually interesting and more risk-taking back in the day. It was like with like the Frutiger Arrow and the Y2K aesthetic and stuff like that, where everything was bubbly, everything had like fonts that you could hardly read, but they looked cool. And like even consumer electronics, like fucking like JVC, Sony, and like all these Japanese companies had like design teams that made these futuristic things that, like, going back to what you said about cyberpunk, is like they were envisioning what the future they thought was going to be like, but unfortunately the future is a gray box.
Yeah, do you think everyone's trying to fight to get that back? Do you think at some point them being able to see all the visual stuff, being like, man, it was really cool back in the day, why don't we have that?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I think so. It's just like, I don't know if you've noticed, like, if you've ever bought a Bluetooth speaker nowadays, they now start to have RGB lights and start having like little interesting things that pulse with the music and stuff like that. Like back in the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, especially in the 2000s, you had these shelf stereos that had like bazookas coming out the front, and the front of the thing looked like it had an equalizer that was bouncing up and down, and it looked like a battleship. It was freaking great looking, and now it's just like a pill, or it's like a box. And yeah, people are definitely fighting, trying to get, back to that kind of thing.
And even more so with the disco genre and like obviously 80s and 90s too. I've been hearing a lot of different opinions in VRChat saying that they've wanted those types of experiences, which we're going to feed into Studio 45 in a moment, or in a little while. But at the same time too, it's weird to me because, number one, we need to find the time. Number two, again, you might be right. I think people might be a little bit bored with the regular to-dos within our community, and they want something fresh and new and exciting, or even something that they haven't been able to experience for themselves before. But time and time again, I consistently get why aren't we listening to the doo-wop of like the 50s? Why are we not listening to the flower power of the 60s or the 70s? Obviously breaking down the disco has been just, it's so fun to watch that so many people are engaged with it. They kind of know the music. And that's the other special part too, is like listening to the people sing the songs in here. You're sitting here going, what year were you born? Like what? How do you know these tunes? You can't know an entire like era's catalog. And you must have gotten it from your parents or something. So where's your take on when it comes to we're still doing new and improved stuff in VRChat comparable to even throwing it back all the way to the doo-wop?
It's just I think it's just going back to artistry. It's just like not to dog on, because like you said, Bruno Mars is doing some amazing shit. Like what was it, that album Soul Sonic that he did with
Silk Sonic?
God, I'm forgetting. Soul Sonic is a group that is it Soul Sonic? Now I'm
I think you're
questioning
thinking
myself.
Silk Sonic the group.
Silk Sonic. It's
Yeah.
Silk Sonic. Yeah, it's Silk Sonic. It's like Bruno Mars, and I'm forgetting the other artist, but like that entire album is it's just dripping. It's just dripping in just style. It's so well done. And it's like I think it's the artistry that people are missing out on. It's like the artist's vision of just making something and then putting it out there and seeing if people like it. Like may not hit on the first try it. Like, again, it's like risk. Everybody's really risk averse nowadays in the music industry. Not that I know much about that, because I'm just some guy, but but it's like back in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, and even into the 80s and 90s, like there was a lot of experimentation happening. Like you got like, you had like doo-wop in the 50s, and then you also had jazz, and then you had like a bunch of other like genres and stuff like that that were just sort of branching into different genres, and just, you know like that's an interesting thing to look at, is like the family tree for all the genres that exist nowadays, where they all come from and stuff like that. They're all influenced by each other. It's because everybody was experimenting, which you see a lot of that experimentation now recently. Actually, it's like in the last 5 years, like there've been a lot of people experimenting, dipping their toes back into the old styles and putting their own spin on it. And it's like, I think that's what people miss the most, is just something that has soul in it, just something that has like a little. It's something I can't put my finger on, but it's like a little something something that, just like, if someone throws together in Fruity Loops and it sounds a little bit rigid, it's like it's not going to be the same as someone that takes their time in like the DAW of your choice and actually does the little automations to make things sound a little bit imperfect. It's the little imperfections that make it perfect.
I think you kind of touched upon it too with the term soul. Is
Yeah.
when a lot of people think about soul, they're thinking like gospel choir, they're thinking church, they're thinking ways that you can be able to showcase your emotions outwardly, freely.
Yeah.
And one of the quirky things about music and history alone, and not to get too political on this program, is just out of all of those eras, there were a lot of things when it came to government and some of the rules and stuff. A lot of people picketing, a lot of people out there kind of showcasing their emotions based on what they believe and what they don't believe. But it was also a way for them to kind of like relax. And the music was also kind of set up to not really distract you, but distract you in a more positive way compared to what is going on currently in your lifetime. And again, the reason for the politics is the fact that obviously things are happening in California right now. But if you were to kind of sit down and think a lot about it, every decade has had some form of what is going on currently, and the way that the music reflects off of that, and the way that people can freely express themselves through artistry and using their soul, to just when you sing, it's just like you're exposing your soul. But at the same time, that's how most of the music was kind of being put together. And just that alone with disco, and having disco in here, I kind of feel like that too. I feel like a lot of people, there's a lot of lost souls that are coming in, and they're enjoying what we have here based off of the music, where they can just freely express themselves and kind of relax and enjoy what we got kind of going on in here. Even more so with just kind of going back to the 50s and the 60s and understanding that type of music, is that you kind of have to have that headspace. You have to have that moment to just sit there and kind of just sit and enjoy it.
It's just like, let's see, how can I word this? Let's see. Yeah, again, not to get too political, but like, it's just like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, is one phrase that I've heard this apply for. Like, if you look back at like the creation of disco, like when disco first came to the forefront, it was primarily, and it always will be, a very, very gay genre. And I mean that wholeheartedly and in the best way possible. It is the best. It's got the best groove. It's just the best. And if you look at around the social pressures that sort of created this genre, with everything that was going on, like the Stonewall riots and everything that was happening in the late 60s, early 70s, and everything that was going on in New York and stuff like that. It's like, people needed a place to belong. So, they'd go to clubs and they'd go dance in clubs. And then, people would start sharing music, because early clubs, it was mostly just, they'd play like Aerosmith, or they'd play like different genres, like the popular music of the time. And then like they would start throwing in like a track from Africa. I forget the name of the song, but like they'd start spinning that, and then that started spawning disco and started spreading to different places. And then the history sort of made itself, and then it just kind of branched off and became this big thing. But like, it's kind of parallel that I've kind of been seeing too is just like 70s fashion coming back in, disco just kind of popping off, and just like coming. It's just a way to relieve stress, honestly. It's just like there's so much shit going on right now that I'm not going to get into, but like you just got to sit down and say, fuck it. We're here to dance.
Honestly, too, and especially too, because like I've kind of been within my age. I'm not going to say I'm too old, but at the same time, I've known some things. Is the fact that we could spend all of our time being angry or negative, but we choose to have those emotions just as much as we choose to have the emotions to be happy and how we want to. You know, like who as an adult, again, we can go back to the meme of is as an adult you have the money to go buy a whole cake at the store and eat it. You can. Doesn't mean that it's good for you, but I mean, you got to treat yourself a little bit. You got to have yourself a good day, and you got to enjoy stuff that you do enjoy. So all of the people that are in here enjoying disco, obviously, I think that's the reason why I don't believe it, is because most of the time they're in here and they're letting out their aggression with hardcore or rhythm or dubstep. Not saying that there's anything negative or like gothic or wrong with it, but
not at all.
You know, everybody has their outlets, but at the same time too, like being able to understand. You ever had a soda and then you drink a soda and then you get tired of soda, so you drink water and you go, huh, my body needs that. You know, like I feel like you kind of have to go through that to kind of experience it. And even more so, I want to talk a little bit about how disco came upon your life, because originally you told me earlier this week that even before VRChat, you were hanging out with your dad and you used to be something other than disco.
Yeah. I used to be a hip hop DJ. And what's funny is that so rolling back the clock, when I first got into DJing was when I was about 15 years old. And it was because at the time my parents owned a Mexican restaurant, and my dad's hobby was he wanted to play music for people, and he had a huge sound system. And like this big Sarah Vega speakers, crown amplifiers, all that crap, and lights, lots of lights, because where he came from in Mexico City, they have a culture called sonideros. So what sonideros are they would close down a street in Mexico City. They'd line the street with lights and a wall of speakers, and they would just play cumbias, salsas, and just like guarachas and stuff like that. They would just play music, and all the town would come in and they'd just start dancing and doing stuff. And my dad wanted to do something like that similar here in the United States. And he did. We started besides working at the restaurant, my dad would drag me along to his shows because we would serve the Latin American market and or just the Latino market, I should say. And I got my start mixing salsa and cumbias and stuff like that because my dad would need to take a break, and then he'd be like, Juno, play this record and those CDs in that book. And I'd be like, okay, Dad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you had to go off of just regular LPs at the time, right?
It was a mix of LPs and CDs, because what we would do is we'd fly to Mexico City and we'd go to the record shops out there, and my dad would pick up some records there, and then we'd fly back with them, and then we'd play them here. But it was one of those things. It's like, yeah, cumbias and salsas are cool, but what about the kids? What did the kids like? And my dad was like, he bought a bunch of hip hop CDs, and he also bought a bunch of house CDs, house and techno. Like he actually bought a bunch of like the compilation ones. They're like 4 CD books of just a compilation of a bunch of house tracks, techno tracks, and stuff like that. And he would like, I don't know any of this music. Juno, you mix it. And I did my best, got really good at it. And then we closed down our restaurant and we stopped the DJ business. And I didn't start DJing until much later when I was talking to Rue in VR, and then I made mention that I used to DJ, and she's like, you should get back into it, and I did. Oh, actually, that's a lie, because before that, I got fired, and I got fired at my job, and to make money, I actually was DJing quinceañeras and birthday parties and stuff like that just to make money to get by.
I was gonna say that seems like a very easy thing to do as far as quinceañeras are concerned. Because I feel, for me, I've never been to one. I've only been able to see them on TV and having the princess turning into a woman kind of a thing, and it's something that I would be excited to see.
Oh yeah, it's honestly, like, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's just an excuse for all of us fucking unks to just go to the party and just fucking get drunk and have a party, just fucking have a rager till about 5 a.m. But just to touch upon the history too, just a little bit, because you mentioned disco. The way I got into disco though was also my dad's fault, because when I was only 5 years old, he bought me a Motorola turntable. It was like this little portable turntable, and with it came Diana Ross, Diana Ross and the Supremes, a couple of Diana Ross albums, some Gwen Guthrie records, Saturday Night Fever, and a couple other disco records, because that's what came with the record player, and I was just a little kid just listening to that shit, and like Beethoven's Fifth on the Saturday Night Fever fucking album. I fucking loved that song when I was a kid, and that's how I got my taste in disco. It wasn't until much after that I started getting a taste for it again and liking it again because of Future Funk.
I'll go ahead and say it on the record too. With that record, my number one track is off that record, the long playing Tramps Disco Inferno. The literal 10-minute song that goes forever.
See, you and me differ on that one. As a kid and even a little bit as an adult, I really didn't like that song very much.
Was it because it didn't stop, or what?
It was a mixture of it didn't stop, and it just sounded a little too cheesy for me. But I mean, that's the thing though. It's the cheese that people like sometimes. It's just it's the cheese. Everybody likes cheese.
That's right, and even more so.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's your program. I want to see what you want to say.
I was gonna say, like, I can see why people like the cheese though, because it's a fun song. It's a really fun song.
It's like the same thing as the reason why, like, I play It's Raining Men and I'm just like, it's a little tired. Or Dancing Queen. I mean, I feel like everyone has heard Dancing Queen. But again, even in the case of Studio 45, having people want to experience disco firsthand and in a place that is in replication of the old nightclub, being able to be in that and listen to Dancing Queen is just a whole nother thing. But I'm sitting here on pins and needles. I want to know what kind of hip hop you were trying to play at 15.
Oh God, like Lil Jon, fucking, because this is like what, 2005. So it's like Lil Jon, fucking, what was it? Salt Shaker, I think, is one of them. What other? It was stuff I probably shouldn't have been listening to at that age, but probably was anyway. But it was also classic tracks. Like I had a lot of Ice Cube. I had a lot of like Dre. What other shit did I used to spin back then? It was the Yin Yang Twins. That was the other one. Just stuff like that. It was stuff that was popular at the time. God, I sound old.
But people, but kids at the time enjoyed that compared to cumbia or the salsa that you were doing.
Well, yeah, it's just like, it's just like they're all like sons of immigrants and stuff like that just kind of grew up in the United States. So you get that little bit of that culture also sort of seeping through, and they're gonna like that kind of stuff. And I liked it too. It's so much fun to mix that stuff even nowadays. This is like throwback, something like real, just. It's a lot of fun, and then you get to play around with everything. I've only done a couple of hip hop shows here in VRChat, but the times I've done it, it's a lot of fun.
Again, it's a time, it's an era lost in time. It really is. Mm-hmm. Because even the fact that like me growing up watching MTV and TRL, and they would have all those after school programs where they would just constantly be playing videos. And when all those videos kind of went away, it was just kind of like, well, whatever happened to MTV? But at the same time, too, anyone that watched MTV was instantly popular. Like, if you were watching it and you were caught up on all of the hot hit stuff, you're going to feed into that. And I can't put my finger on it. We're going to continue to try to brainstorm it throughout the entirety of the show. But having people come back in VRChat wanting to hear those early aughts, and maybe even the early 2010s. I ended up playing One Direction the other day, and I was surprised because I was like, whatever. I mean, I would say what happened to them, but we all kind of know what happened to them. But at the same time, too, it doesn't it surprise you? Doesn't it surprise you how many people are coming in here wanting early aughts?
Not really. It's just like, it's just stuff that you heard back then that it's just nice. It's kind of nice and refreshing to hear it again. It's just like, because time, okay, not to bring One Direction as a pun. This is not a pun, but time moves in one direction.
See, that's good. I like that.
But it's like, it's nice to revisit that. It's like, I think the best way, I forget who this quote is from, but it's like, music is the way we decorate our time. You know how you decorate a house, or if you decorate you put like a little figurine over here, picture there, there's a thing over there. It's just like, since time keeps moving forward, you decorate that time with music. And some of that music that you heard back in the day is stuff that was it's music you heard back then, and you when think back to that time, then you start hearing that in your head. There's the decorations of that time back then. So like, and I know there's a lot of more younger players coming into VRChat now, but like, a lot of the VRChat player base, I believe, is floating around the late 20s, early 30s. So like, of course, like they listened to that back in the day, so they're gonna want to listen to that kind of thing.
Listen, it's already bad enough that like we're getting new Ghostbusters films, and with the new Ghostbusters films with the younger generation, they are working with the older generation. I don't want them. I don't want any younger generation climbing into their parents' attic and finding their folder of CDs, like the early odds, going, oh, it's we found it. It's a relic.
Too late. It's already happening.
No, it's already bad enough.
That's how I got my CD collection. It's from my dad. He just is like, I don't want these anymore. I'm like, ooh, mine.
So yeah, so let's kind of go into that too, because as I kind of we were writing down in the program, I thought it was kind of cheeky, and everybody has their own version of it. Is back in high school, you were everyone is always kind of focused in on one thing, and if you were to kind of ask your senior self in high school what you're going to look like in 20 years, or you're still going to be listening to the same stuff that you did in 20 years, even comparable to what you're listening to going into college, all that changes, from you doing cumbia and Mexican stylings to, and even hip hop to the disco, the switch of disco. It kind of, I mean, it's a lot, there's a lot of motion in there. So tell us a little bit about how that happened for you. What was the journey between what you were doing, even comparable in real life, to how that kind of transitioned to what you're doing right now?
It's just like, it all kind of rhymes, honestly. Like, it's like, because if you listen to a lot of like hip hop that's from like a lot of P-Funk and stuff like that Ice Cube does, and then like Dre does, it's like, if you listen to the tracks, they've been sampling from a lot of disco. Like, there's a lot of disco tracks. Cause I think there was I forget the name of the documentary, but it was like the documentary of how Dre got to where he is, or something like that. And that was one thing that he used to do back in like the 80s, is that he used to take his like the early 80s, late 70s, when he was a little kid, is that when my tracking broke. Ooh, give me 1 second. Oh, there it goes. One thing that he used to do is that Dre used to pick out, when his mom would have a party at the house, like that she would have guests over, he would pick out all the records. He would pick out all the records, and he'd pick out like a bunch of disco tracks, funk tracks, and stuff like that, and he put them on the record player as the night went on. He was just sort of the little DJ, and that's how he became a DJ, was picking out disco records, and that influence is strong, so he started sampling that in all of his music. And so did Ice Cube, because he also grew up around all that stuff too. And it's just like different hip hop artists, that was just the world they grew up in, and they started sampling from that world. Like what was it? I'm forgetting the name of it, but anyway, you get the idea. It's like a lot of that sampled from there, and it just kind of branched off and became this other thing. And then like house music too. House music comes from disco. It's just like that. And like, as far as how I got from hip hop to disco, is just like, I've always liked disco since I had that little record player, and I got into mixing it again, like not again, but I got into mixing it when I started collecting Future Funk records, because every time I'd pick up a Future Funk record, because I got really big into buying Future Funk vinyl. Like I have a lot of Future Funk vinyl, and I started listening to like there's a track, Saint Pepsi's Better. So Saint Pepsi's Better is a remixed and chopped version of it's not the Temptations. I'm forgetting their name. But it's a track off of one of their albums called Imagination. And I recognize that song because I had that album growing up, just listening to it, and I'm like, oh wait, I know this. And then I just started looking back. Like I'd look into all the Future Funk songs that were sampling back into older disco and funk stuff. I'm like, wait, I know that one. I know that one. And I started getting a better appreciation over the old stuff. And also got a new growing appreciation for Japanese city pop. Like Japanese city pop is fucking goated.
What is your kind of opinion on modern day collectible LPs? Because we were kind of going into it a little bit, how there's a certain era right now that not only are people looking to purchase LPs, I think people are upset because LPs are expensive. They're like, here, you're paying like 35, 40 bucks for like the custom vinyl and the custom print book and the custom whatever. And the long short of it is people want to collect it. But in reality is you can play it and you can listen to it. So what is it's I don't know. I feel like it's the same thing with Funko Pops. So you could either have one up on your wall or have it collect dust and have it up there being all pretty, or do you buy two so you can listen to one and then keep another one just kind of in the back?
No, I'm just kind of like with people with cars. It's like I bought this Ferrari and it belongs in a museum. I'm not going to be driving it or putting any miles on it. No, the car was meant to be driven. It's just like if this is my opinion, if I buy a vinyl, even if it's collectible, I'm going to play it. I'm opening it up. I don't care about the resale value. I'm playing it because it's a functional piece of art. Like, yeah, it's got splattering on it and everything, but I want to listen to it. Whereas like a Funko Pop, it's just like, I don't mean anything bad to all you Funko Pop collectors out there, but it's just kind of a useless piece of plastic that you just kind of have. whereas like, a vinyl or a CD for that matter, or a cassette or anything like that, like you can physically touch it, look at it, sort of look at all the liner notes and everything like that, and then you can actually play it if you have the equipment. And some people don't have the equipment to play it, and they just buy it because it's a physical thing of a band that they like it's a collectible that they're supporting the band, and they have something tangible from that band. Because you can't just, I mean, technically you could download like an album that's on streaming and then burn it to a disc, but nobody burns anything to a disc, and it's not the same because it's just a piece of plastic that you scrawled the name of the thing on it. And whereas if it's a CD that's printed or a vinyl that's printed or a cassette that's made, it's got the design from the artist on it, and it's a tangible piece of art that you can actually get your hands on.
That's a good way of thinking about it too, especially because now we're all kind of thinking a little bit about what's in our closets, so we should probably pull out and see if we can either play it or even with a figure, of course. Going back to how you were saying that you didn't really DJ for a little while between when you were with your father, you were doing quinceañeras and birthdays and maybe even bar mitzvahs? No bar mitzvahs?
Nah.
No, those always seem very fun to think about, but I haven't even been to one. But even more so, how you were saying that you ran into Rue, and you actually got to meet up with Rue. Was meeting Rue the first time on Wave? Was that something that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about
actually. That. Yeah. So the way I met Rue is Rue was the first friend I made in VR ever. I love her to death. She'll be a lifelong friend for as long as I live. Sorry, I got a little anyway, but basically what was going on is that I was thinking of getting back into the DJ game, and I was sort of coming out of the furry closet at that point because I wasn't really, because I'd moved out. I wasn't really with my parents anymore, so I was in a new place, and I was sort of more open to be myself. So I was actually thinking of going to furry conventions, stuff like that. And I thought, hey, they have a lot of DJs at furry conventions. Maybe I could probably jump back into the groove and just like start DJing again. What's the equipment they're using? So I looked it up, and it was at the time it was two CDJ Nexus 2000s and the 4-channel mixer. And I looked at the price tag, and I nearly shat myself because it was so expensive. It was like $8,000 for the entire fucking setup used. And I'm like, well, hell no, I don't have that kind of money. So what's the next best thing? So I actually looked into there's a channel, Elliskins. It was a DJ channel. It was a tutorial channel that shows you how to DJ on YouTube. That he got a Oculus Rift, the CV1, and he was going on about like, hey, if you can't afford like a DJ controller, or you want to practice on industry standard gear, this is probably one of the best new ways to do it. And he had a CV1 on, and he was demoing a app called Tribe XR. So Tribe XR was a sort of like a simulation app. They give you two CDJs in the mixer, all the buttons work. So I'm like, all right, that's a lot cheaper than getting a whole Pioneer setup. So I'm going to get a headset and buy that app because my computer can already handle it, because I already had a gaming computer. Got in, bought the app, played around with it a little bit, and then I got curious. I'm like, well, this is cool, but what other DJ apps are out there right now? And I started looking on the Oculus store. I found another one called Vinyl Reality, which actually is my favorite. I've actually DJed full sets in that app because it kind of harkens back to the way I used to DJ with just vinyl, because all it gives you is two turntables, 2-channel mixer, and then a crate where all your MP3s are at, and you have to physically pick them up and put them on the record player and queue them up. Brings me back. I sound old saying that, but yeah. Played around with that, and then I found listed in the DJ apps there was Wave. So I'm like, what the fuck is Wave? So I download Wave. I get in there. I just spawn in. It gives you the tutorial of like, hey, welcome to Wave. You go down, you pick your avatar, because they're preset avatars. You couldn't upload anything. It was like a bean body and then like a head, and then I chose a panda head and a bean body. Got in, played around with the decks. The decks were really crappy. They were really crappy decks. Like you could only mix the pre-loaded stuff. I'm like, well, this is garbage. And I was about to leave, and then I saw that there was an instance running. It was an open live instance running. And I popped in. I decided, all right, well, what's going on? And then I popped in. I'm like, these aren't the tracks that are preloaded in the game. Oh, this is actually really good. And then I saw who was DJing, and it was Rue. I was a mute. I was really socially awkward. I didn't want to talk to her or anything like that. So I just kind of sulked in the back and just kind of vibed a little bit and then left. And I'm like, that was cool. I want to go back again. And I saw when they were playing, when they had another show, was unrelated to Rue, was another person that was doing a different show in Wave. And I got on there, and then that's when Rue approached me. It's like, how you doing, darling? And, the way Rue is, and just like, except she was a bunny rabbit head with a bean body as well. Like there was no avatar there that was the Rue that nowadays. I'm like, it was pleasant, and, started like talking to them, and then introduced me to everything. And then I put on my first show in Wave, and according to her and everybody else in the app, I blew them away with what I made, because I made this vaporwave themed like world in that game that no one had ever seen before, and they gave me a chance. And then it just things progressed from there, then hopping over to VRChat afterwards, and just kind of progressing from there. And then I'm here now.
It does seem like it's all very interesting too, especially because currently with a lot of professional DJs, touring DJs, they're kind of poking fun at the idea of it being virtual reality. And I think a lot of big promoters and labels, they want to get back to how it used to be before COVID, how just people would buy tickets, you go to the huge festivals, you perform, and even now with social media, I feel like they're treating social media as if we were trading VRChat right now, which is we're constantly promoting ourselves, we're constantly coming in here, we're constantly networking, we're constantly doing all of the business, and we're hanging out here too. But at the same time, like you'll get to know what all your favorite DJs are doing up on Instagram and on X and Blue Sky and all those other sources, Threads. They're using Threads, believe it or not, and not so much, but I mean I'm there too, but so for them to kind of understand, and I don't know where they're getting these sources from despite our show, but they're also being like, oh, virtual reality is starting to kind of pop off. Obviously with the holiday coming up and what we've been hearing with rumors of new headsets and new things to do in here, I think they are starting to kind of lean into that. But however, everything that I've learned so far based off of it is that they're not so interested in VR because there's no additional revenue from it. You know, we're not making any money. VRChat's making money, but based off of the different benefits that we do get in here. But the DJs aren't making money. The club owners aren't making money. We're always trying to sit down and understand that economy. But that's the thing about it is just like when you were looking into virtual reality applications with DJing, how far that's gone so far for you and everyone in our community, even comparable to the IRL stuff and the people that are doing these big festivals and shows is, you know, they're still kind of looking at it like, oh, it's very limiting. I guess that's the way I could be saying it. And for you, when you got into Tribe and Wave, did it seem you were saying how some of it was kind of limiting, but you were able to perform, you know, full shows with it and interact with those types of people. So before we get into all the VRChat stuff, let's talk a little bit about those programs too, because I feel like they're still kind of going on and they're still active, but understanding those, because I think everybody in VRChat knows what we're doing in VRChat, right? And we're kind of hyper-focused in because I think we're getting it. I think we're understanding what our role is here and how we're doing it, even comparable to those apps. But I feel like for the people at home that are either looking up Wave right now, like I did this week, or known Tribe this entire time, I mean, obviously there's a stark difference between all those technologies and what we're doing in here. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, like the wave that the wave that is now is not the wave that it used to be. Like the wave that it is now is mostly just like shows that are like for lack of a better term, it's like stuff that they put on this virtual reality 3D show in a Zoom call. That's the new wave. That's wave as it is now. So it's nothing like it used to be. And now they're starting to sort of come back into virtual reality with the Pico or whatever, but like it's a far cry from what it used to be. As jank as that program was and as much as the limitations that it had, like the limiting factor of it is what made it was what gave us creativity to make worlds in there. Like we didn't touch Unity at all. We would pull objects and models from Google Poly before that shut down, and we would build our venues that way. So it was very beginner friendly to make venues and stuff like that. So that's Wave. That's the thing that was and streaming on Wave was super easy too. It was literally you just opened up your menu, you hit line in for your source, it would mute your mic, you wouldn't be able to talk, but it would automatically broadcast to the instance. It was easy peasy. It's not like when I first got into VRChat, I didn't know how to pipe in music. I didn't get the concept. I had to have two very special people, Allofox and Mblade, back in the Tailbase days. They're the ones that also heard that I DJ'd and they gave me a chance in VR and they showed me how to set up OBS and what to use as a visualizer and stuff like that. They got me started. So it was a little bit more complicated in VRChat than it was in Wave. Now, as far as Tribe XR, I've seen that they've tried to do some things, like they have like some DJ training tutorials and stuff like that. Like that's their, at least the last time I looked at it, that was their that was their deal, and how they got revenue is that they would sell courses. And then they would teach you how to DJ in VR, and then they would have little shows of like with their students, but that never really took off as far as I know. Like I haven't checked in with it in a while. I just kind of played with the gear and then just kind of left it there. But that's the thing is that I think all the people that are now looking at VR and seeing that there's something happening here it's mostly like, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, it's promoters and stuff like that, and also tech bros that are just sort of looking at this thing. But the problem with them looking into VR and seeing that they can probably make money off of this thing is that most of us here in VRChat, there's a culture of we just DJ for free and we just DJ for fun. We just put on shows for everyone just for the fun of it. And then, to make sure that everyone else has a good time. And that's a concept that's alien to them. So, like, I know I'm speaking in generalities and I apologize, but I'm just like mostly saying this is like, it's an alien concept to them. So, like, they just sort of poo-poo it. They don't understand it. They try to understand it. They don't understand it. And then they put it away until they can figure out how to understand it. And they lack imagination. That's the big thing. They all lack imagination. It's just like, for example, like Kaleidosky or Totsy's Deviate or something like that. Or like all these fantastical club worlds that have like all this shader fuckery and stuff like that going on that's really cool. That's imagination. That's what makes all the like that, and the DJs and the world creators putting all this stuff together. That's what makes VR special. Whereas people that are trying to get into the space that are mostly IRL running, festivals, stuff like that. I've seen some of their attempts. I forget the name of the app, but there was one app that they were trying to get off the ground. It's like, oh, virtual reality raves in this one app. And it's very limiting. It's like they didn't have enough imagination to like, you can do more than just what is restricted from reality. It's like they just had 4 walls, a couple speakers, lights which was kind of cool, but it was like lights that are DMX addressable, which we can do in VRChat, by the way. It's just there's no imagination. It's just a lack of it. And then like Horizon Worlds is another good example of that. And not to throw him under the bus, the big Zuck, but like it's this plastic looking avatar they're all humans. What if I want to be fluffy? It's like there's no imagination.
Dude, that's such a good way to think about it too, is just like, and these are the things that we proactively don't think too much about, because obviously we're in here. We know what we want to be in here. We know what our role is in here. And for those people that are new in here, they get to test that by putting on like, I don't know if Big Al's Avatar World is still popular when it comes to like, oh, I'm Peter Griffin. Oh, I'm Elmo. Oh, I'm Mickey Mouse.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's what I always go to, because every time I think about like someone coming in and being Peter Griffin, I'm always thinking like, I'm just like, okay, great. He's going to run in here and be like, hey, Lois, but everyone has
Peter
to.
Griffin, I am him.
Yeah, everybody has to have that moment though. And I feel like that's even that is unlocked. That's the key. Peter Griffin is the key to unlocking your creativity in this game, because again, like you wouldn't even know if you're into fursuiting until you kind of are in a fursuit. If you're in here and you're just kind of romping around and trying to figure out which type that you want to become. But you're definitely right on this. It's just the fact that I think a lot of people aren't interested in virtual reality because of Mark Zuckerberg's boring, and the fact that the horizon, the meta horizons, is just like it kind of looks like Microsoft Teams virtual. Like the people from the little icon of Microsoft Teams are in virtual reality. So and I think, but also too, let's be real. A lot of modern people, when they listen to music, they're just like, there's just some good music. But if you're actually invested in the art and understand and have some understanding, that understanding will go further when you've known what the artist can do compared to what they're creating in the future. Kind of reminds me of the whole passing of their first couple of albums were great, and then they got soft after the last 3 albums. Almost every rock band has kind of gone through that, and it's just something we're going to have to endure. But at least you would know that, unless you're just like, well, I remember it's either old Ozzy Osbourne or new Ozzy Osbourne. It's still the same guy. It's just he's shifting focus a little bit more. That's all I'm kind of saying with that. But speaking of which, now that we're kind of diving into the whole virtual reality part of it, I do want to say hi to everybody in chat. Welcome, everybody. It's VRCDJLIVE. We are sitting here with Juno Tanuki, who's trying to stay awake. But
oh no, it's not that I'm not trying to stay away, because I'm vaping.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I was gonna say, I caught you, but no, that's fine.
Don't vape, children. It's bad for your health.
Yeah, even if it's cherry flavored or bubblegum flavored or
strawberry.
Yeah, whatever takes the edge off. But even more so, if you guys have any questions, we are sitting with Juno Tanuki for the next hour, talking all sorts of stuff. We're going to be getting into all the nitty gritty of the disco here in VRChat momentarily. But I kind of want to know a little bit about your journey in VRChat. Obviously, you were saying Rue kind of dragged you in here, and obviously I don't think you're going anywhere anytime soon, but I think all of us kind of want to get to know you about how you even started in the DJ scene here. What were the first couple of weeks, months? Where did you go? What did you see? What was your first performance like? Let's talk a little bit about that.
It was kind of like, at the beginning, I didn't feel like I was going to be in VRChat that long, because it's like, this is cool, but it's also very intimidating. It's just like it's like social anxiety again, coming back to that. It was just like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know what the hell is going on, and I don't know like what's happening. And then Rue drags me and a couple of my other friends in, which I'm still friends with to this day because we're all really close. The Rue dragged us into VRChat, and then she dragged us into it was a map made by Zephin. It was like the Insomniac map or something like that. It was a Rave map. It was like one of the really early ones, and they were playing a live stream of, I think it was a festival at the time or something like that. And I was in that Shiba avatar, not the Pika one, but it was like the stock Shiba avatar that comes with VRChat that's in the publics, that just has that like nice little suit or whatever, and it's like got the squinty eyes.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And then I was in that avatar. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like, look at all these, like, like all these animations and stuff like that. Like, they had everything going on in the map, and it looked really cool. And then someone brought out an avatar that was a public. It was from like a mobile game or something like that. But it was a red raccoon. No, red panda. It was a red panda with sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt, which actually looked exactly like my persona. Like, it looked pretty close. I'm like, give me that. And then they gave me that avatar, and I cloned it, and that was my main for a long time. I didn't have an avatar sadly, I don't have that one anymore. That public avatar, it got DMCA striked. So it got booted off the service. But that's the avatar that got me solidly into VRChat. That's the avatar that got me to stay. And then after a while, I started hanging with Rue and her group, and we started traveling to different places. And then one of my friends found a furry group, and then I started hanging with my friend Quartz in this furry group for a little bit. Like, we were world hopping a lot, and we were just trying to find out what was what in VRChat. And then we stumbled upon, it was Nanosys. It was the club Nanosys. It was a really performant club at the time that had a video player, but everything was very low poly and it wasn't that heavy. So like, everybody partied there regularly because it was Nanosys and Cobalt, those two clubs.
Now, was this during like 2020? What was the time frame?
Yeah, this is 2020. This was about 2020, like early 2020 is when this was all happening. And then during one of the nights, one of the club nights that we were in Nanosys, I was just talking with my friend Quartz that, hey, it'd be kind of cool to DJ in here. This is pretty neat. And then, like, I think it was either M-Blade or M-Blade or Aloe Fox just kind of just zooted right up to me. It's like, oh, you DJ? I'm like, where the fuck did you come from? But he asked, do you DJ? I'm like, yeah. I DJ for a different app for Wave. I was like, oh yeah. Well, if you want to, it's like, we got what was it? DEF CON Furs, because COVID was happening at the time. Like, it was like the early days of COVID, and it was like DEF CON Furs is throwing an online virtual thing for because they're not going to be able to be at the hacker convention in Las Vegas because of COVID. Would you like to play for us? I'm like, okay. I don't know the first things about it. And I said, don't worry, we'll help you out. And they helped me out. They helped me set up OBS. They helped me set up because I asked them about a visualizer, and I said, so, well, how do you get those cool visuals? And they're like, oh yeah, just download Plane 9. I'm like, oh, does it cost money? No, it's free. And I'm still using Plane 9 till this day because I'm too old. I don't want to fuck with OBS and figure that out to do different visualizers, but I have Plane 9 installed and everything, and that's just been the setup ever since. And my first show in VR was me playing Disco House. It was me playing a Disco House set for that. And everybody loved it. And I just started getting noticed from then on because they gave me a chance. And all because they just decided to come into a conversation and say, hey, you know how to DJ? Because I think maybe at that time, maybe going back to like that time frame back in early 2020, maybe there wasn't a lot of VRChat DJs at the time. So maybe like they were scarce. So maybe that's why they came up to me. I'm not sure, but I guess it was right place at the right time.
It was strange. It's strange to think about that too, especially because, like, you know, I don't know. I've been in here since 2018, like the summer of 2018, and for the longest time, all I have been hearing about is certain clubs coming out and certain DJs coming out around 2020-ish. That's kind of where all of them were being, but most of them were kind of underground. So all of them were either playing music out of their mouths or video players were first coming out too. So understanding that kind of a concept, but the way the way that you're explaining you're a DJ kind of reminds me of the time now. It's just like, I'm throwing a birthday party, I need a DJ. It just seems like the last immortal words to ever say in this platform. Lest you
got 20 people going, me,
yeah,
me, I'm a DJ,
and then it's just a matter of like, okay, cool, come over here. Well, we're gonna have you on for the thing.
Can I go on a small tangent on that though?
Sure.
Like, I don't know. It's just like I guess personally, just going back to just I like to keep myself on a low profile. Me personally, that really kind of irks me when like I know you want to get your name out there, but like the thing is that if you're volunteering yourself to be a DJ for someone's birthday party, make sure you like maybe a lot of people do this, but I've just seen a couple times where it's gone real sideways, where the person volunteers themselves to be a DJ and they go up there and they just hype themselves up. It's just me. Listen to my music. Listen to how I get down. And then it's like the birthday goer is just like the second, like the fifth wheel. It's just like they just don't exist. And it's like, I don't know. That just feels kind of disrespectful to me. I don't know. It's a gripe that I've just experienced that it just kind of irks me real bad.
Juno, your mobile DJing is showing. Your quinceañera parties and your birthday parties experience IRL is showing.
Yeah.
Because I think we both could go on this too. Because my father used to have a mobile DJ service many moons ago when I was just a little lad. But then I kind of took it over and I was doing birthday parties. I was doing weddings. And one of the key focuses, guys, if you want to do mobile DJing, is you have to take time to sit down with your clientele and either get to know them or get to know what they want 100% of the time. And even if you don't do that, there will be somebody within their party that will take care of all of that business. So like a master of ceremonies, kind of a dealio, whether it be their best friend or something like that.
No matter what party that you DJ, that is either a wedding or a birthday or a quinceañera or whatever the fuck, you're always going to have that one person going, hey, can you play some Britney Spears? I want you to play Poison. No, what's the name of that track? The Toxic. That's the one. Yeah. I'll get you your request soon. Yeah. Just write it down in this notebook and I'll get to you. Okay. And then they spill the drink all over the notebook. Yeah.
Yeah, the word of advice is I'll do my best. That's the best way.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Yeah, just always tell them I'll do my best.
I pushed the wrong button. I hit the wrong switch. This is stuff you got to learn, guys. Kind of lost track here because we were kind of having a good time with this. But as far as birthdays now, I'm going to lead into. I'm going to double down on this. But there's a lot of birthdays happening recently. Obviously, everyone has one. And it just seems like it's a popular thing to say, but even though that irks you, I kind of want a little bit more of a justification on this. But we have a lot of DJs in the scene. They're hungry. They're thirsty. They want some attention. They want to be able to get up and perform almost anywhere. Can we fix this? It always seems that it just happens that everybody's birthdays have a thing going on in here that they have to have a lineup of 7 to 8 DJs for all of their birthdays. Is that right or wrong?
Honestly, I think that's the good way to go about it. It's just I'm just having a beef with a certain type of DJ that does that. But honestly, if the party goer, like if the person that's organizing the party, if they know them, if they choose them because they know they're a good DJ, that's one way to get out in front of people. Another way is to talk with people. It's just like to have a conversation with someone, but don't always lead it towards DJ. It's just like, just talk with someone, just let them know that you know how to do it. And eventually they're going to ask you, like, hey, would you like to DJ for this party? Or, hey, would you like to do this or that? It's like, you just have to know people. You have to get out there and talk with people, but don't make it 100% about yourself. Like, that just makes you look kind of, I know you're hungry. I know you want to DJ, but like, it puts a bad taste in some people's mouths. It's just like one way that I've been trying to remedy this, because as much as I like disco, I can't be DJing every single fucking event. like especially for 45. It's just like, I don't want this to be like, oh, this is Juno's club. He's always DJing at 45 because it's his club. It's for self-promotion. No, it's just that there is a very shallow pool of good disco DJs. And I've been actually doing like sort of unscheduled pop-ups that are open decks, and I strictly say that it has to be disco. I want to see how you get down. And sometimes, and also there's going to be people that are listening too. Like, say they go to a party, say they go to the birthday party that they're a DJ or a organizer of some sort. If you have skill, they'll be at that party, they'll be listening, and they might go up to you and say, hey, I like the way you mix. Would you like to DJ at X club? Because they like the vibe that you're putting down and they want you to DJ at the club. Same thing with what I'm trying to do with 45. Sometimes I put up unscheduled pop-ups, open decks. Some DJs are good. Some DJs, they try. But like, sometimes you find talent in very unexpected places. Like, you really do. Like, I'm going to give a shout out to Jazzy K. I came into a random instance one night at Electro's Contact at his discotheque venue that he made, and went in there, and they were having a disco night, and I was just sitting there listening because I like listening to the genre. I don't like just spinning it. I like dancing to it and everything. And then this guy comes up and just blows both me and Electro's socks off in the way he was just he was mixing in old classics like almost flawlessly, and then putting in some more modern new funk, like the stuff that's like what's a good example? There's a couple BB No Money tracks that are like new funk adjacent, and then like Young Bay is sort of into new funk, not so much funky, not so much future funk anymore. He's just sort of doing new disco house and new funk, and like he was mixing in these tracks and going back and forth, and we're like, what the hell, man? I straight up said, I want to quit DJing. This man's too good. But you do find talent in really unexpected places. You just keep your ears out, like if you're a promoter, to find that new talent. And if you're a new talent trying to come up, like in the ranks and everything like that, let's just take gigs, talk to people. And if you play those gigs, like I said, you don't know who's listening, and then it just kind of the cycle sort of feeds into itself, and then next thing you know, you're playing different stages. But one word of caution, don't, like I said at the beginning of this whole interview, don't expect anything. Just play. Just have fun with it. And don't expect to be like, oh, I want to play Shelter or something like that, or oh, I want to play this, I want to play that, or like this club, that club, I want to get big. It's like, it's good to be hungry, but if you start expecting things, you're just going to set yourself up for failure, and you're just going to feel terrible about yourself. I know this from experience.
There's a lot of quirky things about VRChat in general too, just because of the fact that like you honestly can open up a public instance and just do this as a hobby and just enjoy your time and perform for amongst your friends. But if you are kind of hungry and you want to kind of dive in, it's the same thing as if you're going to do any sort of research or an understanding of a topic, go to the library. You know, there's a lot of books over there, there's a lot of knowledge over there. But even here, there's a lot of knowledge, and there's a lot of skilled people in this simulation to begin with. And I don't want to sit here and just rattle off the fact of all the different things you could do in VRChat, but we are learning very quickly about how we were saying that you can come in here and perform, but there's still a lot of people out there that are trying to make kind of like a profession out of it, and they want to make this into their career. Obviously, it requires a lot of hard work and expectation with that. So when it does come down to seeing some new people, go out and explore. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to show. And that's the tough part. That's the real tough part. Like, I can't even stress this enough. The fact alone, if you going in there saying that you're a DJ, you have to make sure that you are confident with that. Because let me tell you, as soon as you walk into any place, you know, even for me, I'm looking for an apartment right now, and they're like, "So what's your career?" And I'm just like, "Oh, don't let them know I'm a DJ, please." Like they're gonna make me do stuff, and then there's food trucks, and there's a party, and there whatever. Like, but at the same time, that's what you want, right? That's what you're doing. That's what you're here for. Is you want to network, you want to talk, you want to get better, you want to practice, you want to get those bookings and lineups, and that's all very important to do. But that's the problem, is the social aspect of it, and being sure that you are confident with that. Have a question in chat over here. We talk a lot about this from time to time too, and I think a lot of us have an idea of an answer of this, but I would love your answer on this, which is how does one go about booking people for events in VR, especially within let's just use Club 45 for an example. You know, you were looking for disco, right?
I mean, for me, like, I'm still kind of new. Like, I mean, I've been doing 45 for almost 2 years now, but like, it's still kind of new to me because I've got really bad ADHD, so it's really hard for me to concentrate and sit down and actually plan ahead and do like I know some other club owners have like spreadsheets on like Google Docs and stuff like that, and like they say, oh yeah, here's the spreadsheet, put your name down and we'll put you in, and we'll schedule you in on the slot that you want. Me, I'm very unorganized in the way that I do things, so you should not copy the way I do things, but the way I go about it is because I want to curate an experience in Studio 45 where I just want good funky disco, just like good stuff. Like I don't want someone to roll in here, play about 3 or 4 disco tracks, and then fall back into what they're used to, and then they start playing some hard techno or some dubstep in the middle of a disco set. For me, I just because it's based on a real place, it's kind of a disrespect to the venue itself, like the way it is. So they sort of read the vibe. But like the way I go about booking people is that I go out, I look for disco DJs. If I find someone that I really like the way they mixed, I ask them if they're available for bookings, if they got anything going on, if you want a DJ for me. And then we exchange Discord information. So I have them on lock in Discord, like I have them in the sort of like a little phone book. And then when the event is coming up, then I start pinging people. So like I've kind of copied the way a different club does their Discord. So like a lot of clubs have Discords where the community and everybody is involved, but there's this one club that I copied the concept of where it's just a staff room. It's just staff. So it's just me, some friends that run the club, and a bunch of DJs that I sort of handpicked from looking around, or they've played for me during one of the pop-up events, and I really like the way they played, and I slide them into the Discord, and then I make a ping in the Discord saying, hey, is anybody available to play? Like, do you want to play? If not, that's cool. And then I throw up the slots. People start picking out which slot they want to get in, and I'm like, all right, we'll get the poster made, and then we put the poster up into socials, and then that's how we get an event rolled out. That's the way I do it. It's not the best way to do it. I need to find a different way to do it, but that's just the way I have figured out how to do it. Because I'm not a club owner. I am a club owner, but I'm not well-versed in running things that well. So, yeah.
Kind of more of a trickier question too, especially with the landscape of how DJs are in VRChat. The fact that like even since the boom of 2022, for the past 3 years, it's literally been like a cone shape where it's just kind of like goes out like this as far as the groups and everything. With that being said, let's just say that you have just started your DJ journey in VRChat, and all you've ever known is just Shelter. Like there's Shelter. It's so hard to talk about Shelter on this program, but at the same time, they're the top one. They're the one that's cooking. They're getting all the views. They're getting all the attention. Everybody wants to be on that level at any given time. But you can't also ignore the fact that if you're on top, everyone's going to expect either greatness from you or to go there and for you to kind of see for yourself. So let's just say you're brand new in VRChat, you're looking to DJ. What do you think some of your first steps would be for a beginner coming in here, either learning to get the bookings or wanting to perform in general?
And the landscape now, that's a tricky question. It's like, honestly, like it's just falling back to talking to people again. It's just trying to, okay. So no, actually, if you got friends that club, if you got friends that constantly club hop, and like they come on a Saturday night or something like that, or a Friday night, and you know that they're club hopping. They're not at an instance of the Black Cat, or they're not at an instance of like the Great Pug or something like that. They're and you know that they go off to parties. Like, I know the social anxiety might be a little bit much for some people, but like, this is not only just for DJs, but for also people for people looking to get into the VR chat club scene. It's just like, hop with your friends. Just go in with your friends to these venues, and then soon you'll meet other people there that sort of have other venues, have other avenues where they have their own clubs or their own thing going on, and then just go to those and then see where you fit in, and then see if you can get a booking in there. But like, that also begs the question, if you're new, yeah, that's a difficult one.
It's interesting, and again, we just kind of get back to what we were saying about an hour ago over the fact that there are different genres and different eras and different motivations. Because if we were to ask that question like 2 years ago over the fact that like drum and bass was kind of like the peak thing to do here and listen to, and then that kind of went into dubstep, rhythm, and the hardcore genres, and even more so like the hardcore genres. The hard style genres, you got a lot of people in there, and they're looking to like, you know, go up against the rails, and they're headbanging and doing all that sort of stuff. But not everybody can flow with that, and that's the funny thing about the disco genre that we're discussing right now, is just that fact of like, here comes a whole new wave of things to listen to, and kind of almost similar to like sleep worlds. I'm not saying that disco is sleepy by any means, but the popularity of when like, you wouldn't have not known a person to create a sleep world in VRChat. And then on top of it too, it's just kind of like, it's kind of like going there and being like, you know, you get pinkies out and you're like, yes, this one is also a very good sleep environment. I'm having a good EP, you know, the whole thing with that. But that's the thing, is just now things are changing a little bit more, and we're getting a little bit more hyper focus in on that. And I hate to even bring up the fact of it's just being like, if you're new to the DJ scene, how important is it to ride the wave of a popular genre?
See, that's a tough one, because like, in my case, I never really chased any trends or just chased the genre. Like, I didn't come in here and started spinning dubstep or rhythm or anything like that. I just came in here spinning disco, and eventually there was an audience that kind of formed, and then it just kind of took off on its own. I mean, if you want to chase the trend and, you know, DJ that stuff, just go for it. Because honest to God, even if you're doing it that way, you're still going to gain a lot of skill. Like, what people don't know is like, even if you're DJing in VR, you're still DJing. You're actually sort of gaining experience points, for a lack of a better term. So like, it's important to do that because you still get the skill. But as far as like going on from one popular genre to the next popular genre, just trying to get out there and get noticed, that can only go so far, in my opinion. It's just like I don't know. It's like it be, for lack of a better term, it becomes kind of grifty. But like, it's like, oh wait, but you were the X guy and now you're the Y guy. And then it's like, it's just kind of, maybe that might work for you. It's like, oh, okay, they're good at this genre too. And then it just kind of goes that. And then it also rolls into the fact that you can also become like a multi-genre DJ. So it's like, you become the DJ that spins the genre of yes. What do you play? Yes. It all depends on the person, honestly. Like me, I'm just going to be spinning the stuff that I like. Like, I like, if there's a hip hop night and people want to book me for hip hop, I will totally do a hip hop set. It'll be kind of old school, but it's totally going to be there. Which actually, that's one thing I'm trying to get better at, is multi-format. But disco is going to always be my one love. And I'm always going to be spinning that just because it's really important to me. It's just so good.
The specialties of it all, I think, is something that I think a lot of us are kind of experiencing recently, over the fact that, as we were talking about earlier today, the different eras and how people want to go back to doo-wop and the flower power and even disco, and bringing that up. Is that necessarily, you don't have to be in that little that little train of thought, you know, to just continuously play that type of genre. Hell, even going to Miami Music Week in March for me, I found it very peculiar that that out of all of the things that I could have seen, all the DJs that I could have seen, Jazzy Jeff was in Miami, and he was doing a disco set, an exclusive disco set. So it's not even just a matter of feeding into that genre. I mean, if you're passionate about it, then sure, you know, feed into it. You'll run into a lot of other passionate people within that genre too, and that community is something you're going to want to be a part of anyway. But also don't ignore the fact that everybody wants to, like, I'm still waiting to do my first drum and bass set. I think a lot of people are. But at the same time, it's something I got to plan. You know, obviously I'm not a drum and bass kind of guy, but all of that is super important. It's VRCDJLIVE. We're sitting here with Juno Tanuki, and we're just kind of opening the box on all sorts of stuff today. It's really fun. And I want to spend a little bit of time just solely on Club 45. It's important. And I think a lot of people need to understand its importance. And I think a lot of people need to, you know, a lot of the history because you had to build it and the things that you want to showcase from Studio 54. Studio 54. And the fact that, like, you kind of want to replicate all of that in here too. So give us a little bit about your knowledge of even getting into this project, especially even building the project, because I would assume that there was a little bit of a learning curve outside of Tanuki Tunes that you needed for 45.
Yeah, I didn't build that by myself. I had a lot of friends help me with that one because my modeling isn't the greatest. I try. I don't know if you've noticed the Unity Cube buttons in some of the venues that I make, or the two places that I've made. I need to get real switches in those places, honestly. But as far as like what it was for me to build 45, it all kind of started sort of me going back into the disco genres and just sort of looking at the history and everything. And I just started looking deeper because there was a lot of mentions of Studio 54. And I started looking into 54 and just the importance of how this was like the disco mecca of the 70s. Like this club, mind you, 54 only existed for maybe a good 3 or 4 years, if even that. You know, it came as fast as it went. It was this one window of time of craziness and joy and happiness that just happened and then just disappeared. It's just sort of this special place and time that can never truly be replicated again, but I see echoes of it in the club when I run events and stuff like that. As far as the history of 54 goes, it was you know, it was during a tumultuous time in the 70s, and it was two people. It was Steve Rubel and Ian Schrager of Studio 54 fame. They were the co-owners of 54. They had started doing clubs in New York, you know, just sort of doing this new disco thing that was happening, but they really did like the genre, and they said, well, why don't we open up a discotheque? Like, why don't we just make a club? Because there hasn't been really anything like this, and it seems like there's a lot of people that enjoy this. So they went on to 54th Street in New York, and they bought an old Broadway theater that was used to belong to CBS, I believe. And you know, it's just a theater. Like, if you ever go into 45 and look at it, it looks like a theater. You got the seating and everything, and just the seats are gone. It's just the dance floor. And they converted it into a disco. And the thing that people don't realize about 54 is they were the first for a lot of things. They were the first to, as far as I know, don't quote me on this, but they were the first to have a bouncer, because Ian Schrager, one of the owners of 54, would pick and choose who came into the venue, which is, you know, like in VRChat, that's kind of funny because we have a cap of 80. No more than 80, and then people can't get in, then you're in a queue, and I can't choose who gets let in or not. But like, he was picking and choosing who to let in. Like, you could be a rich guy off of Wall Street in like a polyester suit and stuff like that. It's like, nah, I don't like your vibe. You're too stuffy. Get walking, hit the bricks. And then there'll be a guy that works a construction job, 9 to 5, wears a Hawaiian shirt. It's like, hey, I want to get in, man. It's like, hey, I like your vibe. You're coming in. And then he'd let you in. And they were the first to do a bouncer like that. And because he was picking and choosing people, all walks of life got to be in that club. You could be a normal, like minimum wage worker that happened to get in that night, and you could be having a conversation with Michael Jackson or what was it, the lead singer of the Rolling Stones or something like that. You could commingle with a lot of people and just talk. And so that was the culture that he was just trying to make everything fun. He wanted everybody to have fun in that club. And then they were also the first to do sound treatments with audio. That's a rabbit hole in itself. Richard Long of Richard Long and Associates, for the sound system in that place. They originally called Alex Rosner, which is another company that also installed sound systems for discos. And he hung up the phone on them because he wanted the guys, Ian Schrager and them, wanted to book them to install a sound system really quickly, and he hung up the phone, and then Richard Long picked up the phone and he installed the sound system. And that sound system, from what I heard, was like a warm blanket of sound that would envelop you. It wasn't oppressive. It wasn't loud. It was just, you were a part of the music and you were a part of the entire act. So they were the first to do that, and they were the first to do lighting that was audio reactive, kind of like AudioLink. They had a dedicated proto VJ running the lights as the music was going. And it was just, and the things that happened there were just as crazy as VRChat. Like, there was a birthday party that happened where they rode in through the main entrance with a naked woman on a white horse. There's a couple of images from the books and the history that I've done. There was actually a couple people fursuiting in there, like back in the 70s. Like, oh yeah, we go way back. Furries have existed for a while. And then like people in elaborate costumes. You had the disco grandma that was like an old woman that was dancing. It was just like all walks of life were in this club. And from me not talking about this to very few people, just me running the events, the art is imitating life in this case. It's backwards, because I made the venue, I run disco events, and we have all these people coming in. It doesn't matter if you're a furry or if you're an anime avatar and a human avatar or anything like that. Everybody is coexisting with each other and having a good time. It's just happening naturally. I have nothing to do with that. It's just happening naturally, and it's such a wonderful thing to see, and it's a safe space for everyone as well. It's like, that's one of the things in one of the documentaries that really kind of spoke to me. It was two trans women that were sitting in, and I can actually, if we ever go to the club, I can actually point out to you where they were sitting, because the place is made as close as I could to the real place. They were interviewing. It was some old found footage. Like, so why do you come to Studio 54? And they passed the microphone to the two trans men. One of them goes up to the microphone and says, because this is the only place that we can be ourselves. And then the interviewer's a little confused, like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And then passes the microphone back to them. And then they're like, well, have you seen the streets of New York, how they are right now? If we go out looking like this, honey, we're going to turn up dead one day. And then they start laughing. But it's kind of like a macabre laugh. Like it's kind of, it's happy and sad at the same time, because they had somewhere to exist, but they had nowhere else to exist other than there. And like the last thing they said before the interview was over was like, if $14, I think it was $14, if $14 a ticket to get into a club is what it takes for us to get in here, to live our lives, bitch, we live here now. We rent. And that's kind of came naturally. It's just kind of come naturally. It's just, and that's the one thing that I've noticed running all these events. I've only had to kick 2, maybe 3 people out of the almost 2 years of me running this place. Like, I've had to kick them out of the instance because they were being obnoxious or bad, or like trying to crash and be annoying. I've only had to kick very few people. The genre seems to attract a lot of good-hearted, good-natured folks. It seems to keep the garbage out naturally. I don't know how, or I don't know why, but it's just kind of the way the vibe is. Sorry, I went a little long there.
No, I mean, it's all very engaging, and the way we're listening to it, I feel like a lot of people need to experience it for themselves as well, especially because earlier, but even before we started the interview today, you were explaining that Studio 54 really doesn't exist anymore. So being able to welcome in Studio 45 and really kind of embrace what it was all about is super cool. And it kind of reminds me a little bit about like like diners. You know, you go to a diner and you want to have that sensation of what it was like several years ago, and the food and the environment, and at any point in time, you're going to be able to find you'll be able to find your bar. You know, like you always see it in the movies that someone's like, let's go to the bar, let's go get drinks. And that's kind of their safe haven, and be able to showcase that. But even more so about VRChat alone, there is a little bit of gatekeeping still active, either through content creation, being an influencer, or having some popularity in the simulation to begin with. So it's nice to be able to go to a place where it's never just the case of, oh, you're so-and-so from so-and-so. Can I have your autograph? Oh, can I have a picture? Okay. But hopefully that person receiving that will also be like, sure, whatever. You know, we're having a good time, just hanging out. Where do you think that the future of this is going to head into? I mean, I feel like right now we've gotten over the fact of gatekeeping existing. I think a lot of people have brought the gate down a little bit, so we can now have nice big conversations about this. But I also can't help but feel like there's still that little bit of popularity, or I don't want to say clout, because that's such a bad word to say out loud. It's very aggressive. But at the same time too, you know, I feel like the popular people in our simulation are the celebrities of our modern life.
Yes, yeah, I guess you could say, yeah, I think that's a valid way to put it. It's just like, yeah, yeah, I'm trying to find words for this. Yeah, there's a lot of people like in this simulation that are popular and everything, and they're trying to get, you know, like they'll get your autograph. I'm just not built that way. Like if someone came up to me and said that, of course I'm going to give them the autograph. I'm just going to still feel weird about it though. But
well, let me rephrase it a little bit more. Like the way you were explaining it, how like you have regular people commingling with celebrities.
Oh, that's
and the fact that, like, let's just say you do go in and you get to sit down with Michael Jackson and you get the hobnob and stuff like that. Do you think that we'll ever get to a point where it's as confrontational as that portrays itself to be?
I mean, in the way the club is right now, like it's already happened. Like there's been a couple of people that have popped in there that are like, I guess you could call VRChat celebrities, that have just been kind of, you know, they've been vibing there and just having a good time. And you have other people coming up, so like not going to say their name, but like, what was it? There was someone popular that was there that actually stole the audio link controller out of my hand. And I had to tell him, hey, this isn't a techno rave. This is a disco. And I stole it back. But it's all in good fun. It's just, the thing is like, if you get more popular people, like, you know, the VRChat celebrities, if you want to call them that, like commingling in the club and stuff like that, we're all just normal people. So like, it'd be nice to just have a nice conversation with the person. Like maybe some people might be a little bit starstruck or whatever, but like it's a good place to just, like, you know, just talk to the person. They're not that different from you and I. So it's like, yeah. And I think the culture is, since the gate is kind of getting a little bit lower, I think it's sort of starting to become a little bit more like acceptable for, not acceptable, that's like a wrong way to put it, but it's becoming more normal for people to do that kind of thing. But the only person that's going to have a gate is going to be the person that thinks they're hot shit. So like, they're just probably going to be like, what are you doing talking to me? Get out of here, nerd. Like that kind of thing. Like that's a them problem. If they don't want to talk to you, that's a them problem.
Until all their followers leave, and then just like, where's my nerds? What happened to my nerds? You just pushed them all away.
But yeah.
So even moving forward too with disco and the fact that it's gaining a lot more popularity in here than I think. I feel like I've been going to more discos than I have any other type of genre, to be honest with you. And as we are continuously looking into the rest of this year and into the future, one of the things that I think that is becoming more of a popularity thing to do is, well, not popularity thing, but a popular thing to do is try to mimic worlds that they're mimic to actual places. And the cool thing about Studio 54 is, well, not the cool thing, but okay, let me take this back. The cool thing about Studio 45 is the fact that we can visit Studio 54 that doesn't exist anymore. So where do you see the popularity of new rave worlds and we're at Rave Maps in VRChat in the future, mimicking actual real places compared to something futuristic or made up?
Well, I have a friend of mine. His name is DJ Snowwolf. He's been working with some of his friends to bring another club that doesn't exist anymore. That was also in New York. It was originally called The Saint, but him and his team and his friends got together and recreated it in VRChat. The club in VRChat's called Icon, and it's this big dome where things are projected on this big dome, and the dance floor is circular, and then like the DJ sort of out in the way. Like, yeah, you can throw snowflakes out on the DJ, but the DJ is not the main focus. It's just you and the music and the experience and everything like that, which is a lot like the way in some cases even better, because they're projecting video. The original venue only had lights that projected onto the dome and the disco ball and stuff like that. And as far as like the trend of bringing old places back into VRChat, I feel like it's starting to kick off. Like we got a couple of venues that are sort of mimicking the old way of how clubs are laid out, but we're not limited by, going back to the imagination thing, we're not limited by the physicalities of the real world. We have VR and a 3D program to make our wildest dreams come true. So like we can replicate an old school club that doesn't exist anymore. Like, hey, you could probably make a rave in a forest too, like set up a speakers, have trees all over the place, and have like a pop-up that's set up in the middle of like a dark forest. You can start raving like if it was the 90s. That's one way you could go about it too. But it's just now that people are seeing that you can do more than just make a box with some lights, and then you can just like start taking your imagination a little bit further, I think there's going to be more recreations of VRChat of clubs that used to exist, bringing them into VRChat, and there's going to be more imagination as far as clubs go. But the only thing is, your imagination is limited by one thing, and that's the user's computer. So, like, please optimize your worlds, because nobody wants to party at 4 frames a second.
It's cool that you brought back imagination too, because I know, in fact, we were talking a little bit about people's interests in coming into virtual reality to begin with, and again, I really want to keep harping in on it, because it's not even a matter. It feels like such a rude concept to just be like, "Yo, regular person who just heard about VR literally today after it's been around forever, you have no imagination." Like, oh, that hits pretty damn hard. But at the same time too, like you're right, you know, and even going to convention, right? I feel like coming in here is like going to convention, where you could genuinely go to convention as regular Joe Schmo, but you will still not have the best experience unless you've come in with a cosplay or come in with an idea of meeting other like-minded people based off of the things that you enjoy. You can like Superman. I don't want to say Superman's basic. You like Superman, but like you could literally, you know, walk into any convention and just be like, Superman. You'll find someone who will run up to you and say, Bizarro, and be like, ooh, Superman. So they'll kind of do something like that. But yes, when it comes to the future of it, and I think I'm just answering my own question, because I was going to do a cheeky rebuttal of just being like, so with all these things going on, but that's just kind of it. It's just like, for me, I'm still trying to understand. We have such a huge community, and everybody can do whatever they want, and they're doing what they want. They want to do it all. And that's the beauty of it, is that everyone is able to do everything that they've ever wanted to in here, and they're all smart, and they all have imagination to back it up with the things that they're doing in here. So it's not even just a matter of how many people are, if we're getting more people in here. We want more people in here. We want more people with imagination in here.
Exactly. And going back to conventions, actually, like just touching on that real quickly, as far as conventions go, like I've had a lot of friends that are in the furry community that go to conventions, stuff like that, IRL, like FWA, SAC, and MFF and all that stuff. They've said that VR, because there's a thing called post-con depression, where it's like you're having the best weekend of your life, and then you have to go back to real life again. Like you have to go back to work, you have to do all that stuff. I've heard a lot of people say that VR actually helps them with their post-con depression, because all the friends that they met at the convention and stuff like that, they got to see them again in VR. And to segue from there into sort of the imagination thing too, the ferality, the theme for ferality that was for this weekend was ferality Somna. The theme was dreams. and they knocked it out of the park in the way that the worlds were laid out, because it was all dream themed. It's like you basically the allegory for it was, or the analog for it was, is like when you put on the headset, it's like if you're going to sleep and going into a dream reality where you can be here with your friends and be whatever you want to be wherever you want to be. And it's just, it was, God, the stage this year was beautiful.
So you could be confident and say that VRChat cures depression, right? Is that what you're saying?
In some cases, yeah. Not all cases. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's some pretty positive vibes for me to hear that you would be able to cure some depression in here, but that's a pretty valid claim. I would say so too. Like if you're having a really bad day, I'm sure there's someone in here that you can hang out with. Or I like coming in here and playing there's a fruit ninja game or fruit game in here that I really love to play, and just kind of sitting here and de-stress. It's a de-stress environment in here, I guess that's what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, of course, it's VRCDJLIVE. We just got a few more minutes here with Juno Tanuki. And par usual, at the end of our program, we like to go through some rapid-fire questioning. And, of course, this is some stuff. I would say if Juno was watching our program, that he would know exactly what he's getting himself into. But at the same time, I didn't ask him any of these questions beforehand. So, yeah, let's go. Actually, obviously, but before we get, obviously we're moving on. Out of everything that you've done in here with world creation and disco and learning how to DJ, the stuff that we were talking about, what is one solid word of advice that you would offer to either anyone looking to get into DJing or world creation, or even finding their tribe?
Okay, so for world creation, the best advice that I can give is aim for quest. Questies outnumber us 10-1. So aim for quest, and optimizing your world for PC is going to make everything so much easier, because it's literally just boop, and then you have a world that runs really, really well on a PC. As far as DJing is, just keep, it's going to take time. It's not going to be instant. You're going to have to put some effort and time into DJing and trying to play more shows, and as time goes on, then you'll start to get more noticed, and more people are going to be wanting to book you and stuff like that. And as far as finding your tribe, that's one of the hardest things about VR, is if you're jumping in solo, you come in, you put on the meme avatars, and then you're like, oh, this was great, I'm going to move on to the next thing, and then they sell their headset or whatever. It's kind of a hard question, because you'd have to jump in with a friend of yours that already knows the layout a little bit. And if that doesn't work, then go to your local Black Cat, see if you can find someone. Because I've heard some great stories of people going into Publix, even though Publix are kind of garbage nowadays, from what I've heard. That they've met some good friends there. I mean, I had someone that met their husband there, like in a Public, and they're doing really well. And it's just connecting with people, getting over the social anxiety, and seeing how you can find your tribe that way.
I'll also say too that if you're going to dress up as a meme and you're going to try to find memes, there will be somebody else that will be more annoying with their memes than you are.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
100%.
Yeah, no joke about that one. But here's a new fresh question that I kind of threw in last minute. But what are a couple of new artists that you're listening to that we would want to get to know?
Artists in VRChat, or artists as in
musical
music?
Artists? Yeah, musical artists.
Oh, musical artists.
Yeah, groups, artists. A couple of them that you've been listening to recently.
One of them is actually Casico. It's kind of spelt different. His story's kind of weird. He was a hip hop artist that just went full on into disco, and my God, he's doing a solid job at it. Like, everything is groovy. His vocals are buttery smooth, fucking absolute peak. And there's another DJ called Hot Mood. Hot Mood is they're pumping out a lot of disco house tracks that are really, they've really hit that sweet spot. What was it? I've been listening to him for a long time, but I don't think he's put out any recent stuff. But Dimitri from Paris, he makes remixes of old disco tracks that are very, very close to the source material. It captures that spirit and amplifies it. Lost in Music by Dimitri from Paris. No. I Want Your Love by Chic, the Dimitri from Paris remix. That will send you to a different plane of existence.
I can't wait to listen to that. I'm sure we'll see if we can't post it up on the YouTube afterwards. But going back to the original questioning was, what are the top 3 DJs in VRChat that we should be looking forward to this year?
As far as people that I've found, shout out to my buddy SBE. He goes by Sebastian in here. He's had a glow up. He's really good at DJing right now, and he does a lot of house stuff. Like the house music that he plays is tightly mixed. He's really he pops off when he's on the decks. Then there's Jazzy K. He's a DJ that I found that he's just been doing such a good job at mixing. Like his disco mixes are just really, really good. And last DJ, of course, is like I always listen to him because he's a buddy of mine. Fucking Electro. Electro's fucking great.
Yeah, no doubt, and especially too, I would assume that everybody performs at Studio 45 too. Hopefully, right?
Oh yeah, they are actually. This upcoming weekend, on the 21st of June, at the time of this recording, both Sebastian and Jazzy K are going to be playing in the lineup, along with Twilo. 2-hour sets. So like that's a new format we're doing just so the genre can breathe because it lends itself into longer mixes.
Not only that, but like that's quite a lineup too. Like you definitely want to try to figure out, be able to find you on social medias and be able to remember all of that information. I would assume it's up on the timeline as well.
Yeah, I post a timeline and everything. Do my best to put it out there. I just kind of want to keep things old school, so I just put up a poster on socials and on the timeline, and that's about it. And then people just find their way in.
Finally, for our rapid fire questioning, where can we find you on social media?
On social media, on Blue Sky, I am Juno T. On Blue Sky, I am God, that's really spelt weird, but I'm Trash Tanuki on Twitter. So that's TR4SH_Tanuki. I think on Twitter, and I think those are the only 2 socials that I have. Oh, and I have a Mixcloud too. I try to upload to my Mixcloud, but I'm really lazy about that. But I have a Mixcloud that's under Trash Tanuki as well.
Listen, I'm not saying that Mixcloud's not popping off. I do know that there are some fur groups in VRChat that stream exclusively on Mixcloud.
It's a solid service. It's just like it's good for people that want to listen in, and like it's not like Twitch where they're gonna slap you down or make you go into the DJ program where you can no longer stream video games or do commentary or anything like that. You're just locked into DJing. It's just like it's a solid service. Like I've watched a couple live streams there, and like there's a lot of people I know a lot of people like kind of poo-poo it and say like, oh, I don't want to pay for a pro membership to upload all my mixes there so they can keep them. But I pay the membership because I want people to listen to stuff. So. And because SoundCloud also kind of slaps some things down. They got some copyright infringement bullshit going on.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And we're all trying to figure out a better way to handle it. But
Mixcloud's the way.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of in the future. So Juno, thank you so much for coming on the program today. And
thank you for having me.
And of course, it'd be really nice to have you back on the program too. See what kind of updates that you have. I know you've been saying that you've been wanting to do a little bit more of an upgrade with Tanuki Tunes. But I can't wait to see what more we're going to be squeezing out of Studio 45 in the future.
Yeah, so I've got Tanuki Tunes update in the works. 45 is also getting some updates, and I have a couple other worlds in the works that now that I have a little bit more free time, I can get back into Unity and Blender. But I'm just going to leave those as a teaser. It's about 3 worlds that I'm planning to put out.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to look forward to it, especially after summertime. Everybody will come back in to party for the weekends, of course. But that'll do it for us for VRCDJLIVE. Those 2 hours just kind of fly on by, and we've already been kind of flexing the idea of doing 3-hour programs, but it's a lot of talking for 3 hours, so I think 2 hours is actually a very fun time. However, next week's group, it's not even just a guest. We're having an entire group here at VRCDJLIVE. We're going to be joined by the staff of 4 Seasons as they come in to discuss their big event that's going on out in Amersfoort, New Hampshire, Amersfoort, Netherlands, and that's happening towards the end of August. So we're going to come in and kind of talk to them a lot about how they put together their programming and being able to understand what it's like to go from VRChat Club to IRL Club. So make sure you take a look at our socials for that. That's going to be happening very soon, obviously. And you can go on Twitter and on Blue Sky at VRCDJLIVE. Of course, at the end of the show, we're going to be posting everything that you've seen today up on YouTube with our highlights on Fridays and the full show on Sunday. Towards the end of the month, we have a very special guest. We're going to be joined by Harmony Soleil of C89.5, a dance station out in Seattle, Washington. And it's going to be it's a special guest. It's going to be our first non-VRChat guest who's in the industry. So that's going to be a very big talking point to sit down and say, hey, if you make music, how can you submit it to an actual radio station? How does that go towards the record labels and some of the much larger markets, plus some other big surprises about C89 that you guys have not heard about yet. So please stay tuned for that. So with that all being said, from Juno Tanuki, our guests, and our staff of VRCDJLIVE, I'm Rob Roman. Thank you guys for coming by, and we will see you next time. Bye.